I have a full-time job.
Right.
Then I'm writing up for Cincy Music. I'm kind of handling our booking, and I'm playing in the band, and it's all just sort of,
Yeah, it's
you know,
overwhelming.
it just can stress you out. It stresses me out even thinking about it, and I'm not.
Moose and I decided to do Frankenstein. Have you ever read it before this time?
No,
No.
no.
So Frankenstein, and we're gonna dive into a lot of it, but just to give it people an intro, um, I read it probably 3-4 years ago, uh, and just the shock I had that it was not any the story. It felt like an injustice. I
Oh,
was so angry. Everybody I talked to, I'm like, I mean, I was almost angry with people. I think I yelled at my dad once.
dude,
I think
I've been reeling. I've been reeling. I have been seething at in my inner soul at how
right,
pissed off I am to what
right,
they did to this woman who wrote this amazing book, Mary Shelley.
amazing,
It
right?
is a great book, and Hollywood. Oh my gosh,
Turn into a
we'll get into
character,
it.
a silly caricature. She's 19 years old. Her mom is one of the most famous women's rights advocates. Her dad was famous in one way or another. She grew up in just a really smart family. 19 years old. I think the backstory is she was out on a trip or with some friends, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna have a competition. Go out and write a scary book, right?
Right.
Or yeah, something
It,
like that." And she comes back with this.
yeah, she comes back with like sort of the very beginnings of this. It
Mm-hmm.
was at like a sort of like a dinner party or something, right? And they all
Right.
get together,
Yep.
they're drinking or whatever, and it was all writers, and they just said everybody come up with just tell a story, and she
Right.
came up with this, like
Yeah.
um
Nuts.
this this,
Well,
which
you know,
is
there's a controversy here. Did you read about the controversy? Did you read about her like really writing it? Did you see that story?
no. How do you mean? What's the
So
controversy?
this, her husband is Percy. He was
Right,
a
Percy Shelley.
Percy Shelley, and he was an author and poet.
Right.
So the controversy is, and I can see where it's coming from. As much as I'm a feminist, as much as it's not that a woman could write this book so easy. So it's not about her being a woman. It's about her being 19. Because
Okay.
I've read this book twice. The controversy is that Percy helped her write this book, and
I
it's a
cried
big one.
bullshit.
You do?
Yeah.
See, I don't. I don't. I'm on the side that he helped her.
Look, I have.
Man, read it
Okay.
again. And I have a 12-year-old, and she's smart as can be. The amount of life, because he was older. He was quite a bit older.
Right.
I think he was in his late 20s, maybe
Well,
early. And
parlance of the times, you know.
yeah, well, yeah, and I'm not blaming him,
Yeah.
but but to know what
Okay.
she knows about schooling, and yeah, we can just jump in.
Yeah.
Schooling, the
Yeah. This
Arctic, everything. How? I mean, her parents were there. She's worldly. I get that, but
okay. Well,
help. I think she got help.
yeah. But doesn't every writer? I mean, even Stephen King gets help from his wife. You know.
You're nailing it. No,
I
you're
just,
nailing
I,
my point.
I
You're
just
nailing the point. It's
every
not a big deal.
every person. No, yeah, no, it's not that big of a deal. I'm sure there were
Nope.
some things that she probably, let's call it, the manuscript she had done, right? Of who's her husband, Percy Shelley. Who bet
Right.
it's like being married to Ernest Hemingway. I mean, you would want him. Who better to give you notes?
Thank you. That's all
So
my point is. It doesn't take anything away. I'm not trying to take away from her genius. I'm not trying
absolutely
to
not.
say, oh, a woman is trying to do
No,
this.
no, no, no,
My
no.
point is just that, and I almost look at the help as like anybody that was writing today at 19 or 29 or 39 is going to use the internet, right? Um, this information she needed, and I just believe it was him, because why not? He's got the pros. He's done it. He helped her, not to take away from her, but
No, we're
to
not.
say that he had no. There's a lot of people just say like, no, he had no
No,
role.
yeah.
I don't believe that.
No, I don't like going to extremes where, it's all
Mm,
this or all that. There's no nuance. Of course there's nuance. That's life.
great.
Life
Yep.
is full of nuance. Like, we all have it. We all do it. Like,
Hmm.
to be on the extreme end of either of these arguments is just kind of
Silly.
ridiculous. And you can go
Yeah.
ahead and defend either end. I'm just going to kind of stay in
It's
the middle
silly.
with
No,
this.
you're right.
It's not just black and white. There's this gray area that we never we probably don't really know that much about. I mean, they
And
have
then
their private life.
the thing is, though, a lot of the people that are defending her put it on a feminist level, like, oh, a man has to come in and help. Where, no, I'm with you. I'm a
Yeah,
pure feminist. I don't. The only time, I guess, I'd be an ageist.
yeah,
My only thing would come in where I know, as much as she could be intelligent and smart, just 19 with very limited. You don't have the internet. You're going to need somebody in there that's giving you a lot of information, a lot of guidance. That's where my thing comes in. It's not about her sex; it's about her age.
yeah.
You
And
know.
the only pushback I would give back to that, even slightly, would just be, I would I'm gonna assume, because I don't really know that much about her,
Mm-hmm.
is that she was probably a voracious reader, so she was probably reading
Oh
a
yeah,
lot.
I'm sure she was. Yep.
Um, Even to have this idea about this
Mm-hmm.
book, it seems like, it had been lingering for a while, or
Yeah,
maybe it didn't. Maybe she wrote it in 30 seconds. I don't know.
I doubt it.
I
I
wasn't
think
there.
you're right.
Um, but I'm assuming she read a lot, and not
Mm.
just fiction. She was reading all kinds of stuff. Whatever was available to her that she could read, she was probably reading it. I mean, that was how they went to the movies.
Right.
That was their
Yeah, that was
streaming
it. That was
service, was
entertainment.
reading the
That was
book.
entertainment. And the other thing is too, is that I think she got married at like 15 or 16. She was pretty young, and she had already had a lot of death in her life by this point. I think
Right.
she'd lost like two or three kids after
That's also why.
childbirth. Yeah, and so
That's
she
also why
really
I
had
love
a
this book.
right. Yeah, it's a heavy book, and she's looking at, she's living during a time of where science is becoming this new thing, exploration, and then she has experienced death and family and closeness, which are a lot of the themes that she's going to jump into. The first theme, actually, I did this last time. I want to read the cover, even though most people are familiar with Frankenstein but don't really know it. Here we go.
Well, they don't probably know this version.
Right. Um, I saw the pale student. Wait, is this? Okay. I saw the pale student of unhallowed arts kneeling beside the thing he had put together. I saw the hideous phantasm of a man stretched out, and then, on the working of some powerful engine, show signs of life and stir with an uneasy, half vital motion. A summer evening's ghost stories, lonely insomnia, and a moonlight alpine room, and a runaway imagination fired by philosophical discussions with Lord Byron, Percy Shelley about science, galvanism, and the origins of life conspired to produce for Mary Shelley this haunting night specter. By morning, it had become the germ of her romantic masterpiece, Frankenstein. Written in 1816, when she was only 19, Mary Shelley's novel of the modern Prometheus chillingly dramatized the dangerous potential of life begotten upon a laboratory table. A frightening creation myth for our own time, Frankenstein remains one of the greatest horror stories ever written and is undisputed classic of its kind. Um, so that retells the story we told that she was meeting with these Lord Byron and some
Lord
famous
Byron.
people,
Yeah, I
and
forgot that.
yeah,
Yeah, that
I
was one of
forgot
her
that
guys.
too. But I guess one of the things I want to talk about first, we get to themes, is it's looked at as this classic horror story, and I don't know whether I have an issue with that or not.
I don't. I mean, labels are labels. I mean,
Yeah, well, how is it? Let's talk about that. What makes it a horror story?
Frankenstein. The
The
idea, the
monster.
idea of this, of
Frankenstein, the man or the monster?
the monster. Yeah, the
Mhm.
monster. I'm not. Yeah, because
Let
they're
me
two
let her
different
intervene. Let me
things.
intervene. Let me intervene. I am like you. I call Frankenstein's monster Frankenstein. And
Yeah,
there's so many people that come up to
forgot
me.
about that.
No,
Forgot about
but
this part.
no, but I'm with you. I
Yeah.
have had so many people. I was at my 25th class reunion, and I have Frankenstein tattooed on my arm. And
Oh,
people like,
nice.
"Oh, what do you have on your? Is that Franken? Oh, your arm. Tell me about your tattoos." And I'm like, "Oh, Frankenstein." And they're like, "That's not Frankenstein." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "That's Frankenstein's
He
monster."
doesn't have
I'm
the
like,
bolts out of his neck, dude.
"Yeah," and I'm like, "No," because they're saying Frankenstein's a doctor. He was never
Oh, yeah,
called
that's right.
Frankenstein.
Right,
And
right,
I'm
right.
like,
I just
I'm
did
like, yeah, I'm like, bullshit.
it.
Shut up. I said,
Yeah,
have you read the book? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, okay. So even
he's
in the
his
book,
father. For Christ's sake.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
exactly. You think of him as Frankenstein. I don't care how much he calls him all these bad terms throughout the book.
Or Mary
Uh,
Shelley just calls him the monster.
the monster, the demon. I think
Right.
he's called the demon throughout it or whatever. I mean, if I were to say, "Oh, I have the demon on my arm,"
Yeah. You're gonna know.
yeah, you're gonna know what
Okay.
I'm talking about.
That's
No,
gonna make sense.
yeah,
Which
you
demon?
get that, but no, you just know that little trivial thing that's Frankenstein's monster. That's
Yeah.
not Frankenstein. So that drives me nuts. So I'm glad you said that. You're on my side because
Yeah.
I usually do not refer to him as Frankenstein's monster. I just call him Frankenstein.
Well, that,
So thank
yeah.
you.
I mean, although I mean, Mary Shelley does a great job. I mean, the title of the book is Frankenstein, so you're sort of led to you define it. You know, I'm not.
Right. No, you're right. You're right. Take that as it is.
Yeah.
Is it the monster or is it him? And who is the monster, right? I
Yeah.
think that's the thing you come out when you're done with this book. That's the biggest revelation.
Yeah.
You get done with this book and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
The monster's not the monster. At least that's how I came out with the book. The monster's not the monster
Yeah.
as much as you wanted to
This.
believe
Yeah.
it is.
This
So,
brought
what
me.
makes you think
What?
it's a horror story? What makes you think it's a horror story?
A horror story? It all depends on what your definition of horror is. I
Sure.
mean, I guess that could be different from for anyone.
Hmm.
Um, me, I don't know if it's really a horror story. This isn't something I would want to read to my 9-year-old nieces,
Hmm.
but I would read it to them when maybe they were 13.
Right.
Like, because it's not gory. I
Mm-mm.
I didn't get that from the
Except,
version that I read.
no, I agree with you.
And um,
You could, the only thing you could take,
more
I
American
think,
Gothic than anything else,
I agree
if
with
we're gonna
that.
label it.
No, I think it's not gory, except I think the depiction of Frankenstein in most cases is not gory enough for what he created. As far as the being goes, I think,
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like the
most
way
definitely.
Mary Shelley, like, I mean, literally, he's putting dead bodies together that don't match,
Yeah,
right? And it's dead bodies and they're kind of rotten, and his mouth is like torn. So my thing is that, yeah, I agree with you as far as a horror story, but this monster is so much more gross than what we see as Frankenstein. That has, his face is kind of like mine, maybe a little different, green, right? But he's not that ugly. I mean, he's an ugly dude, but he's not a dead person that's decomposing and have his teeth. His skin is recessed and his teeth are showing. I mean, if I just think that the modern depiction, the one that I have on my arm, and all the ones you look at are not as gross as probably what Mary Shelley wanted him to look like, because she wanted people, when that you're supposed to get from the story, people are scared shitless just seeing him.
he's a monster, right? I
He's a
mean,
monster.
that's what she's describing. Like, and in the version that I read, I didn't, I didn't get any of the where Doctor Frankenstein got any of the body parts. That wasn't in my version.
Isn't that interesting? I'm glad you talked about versions because
There were a
there
bunch
are
to choose
there
from.
are yes, there are a few to choose from, and to be honest, I
This
should have
was
done the
mine.
research. Yeah, I love that cover. There are a few but I should have looked this up. But there, Mary Shelley wrote a few, but the editors I think changed them,
Okay.
and I don't know. I don't know for sure what changes it. There is one like the 1818 or whatever version is like the original version, and then for some reason they changed a couple of them, and the words are slightly different, which is so freaking odd to me, and I'm sorry for not knowing the difference. But so what you said was you don't know where she got the bodies, or he got the bodies.
It in this one that I have,
Yeah.
they I made a note. So this is what I so yesterday I watched the movie Mary Shelley's Frankenstein
With De Niro.
with De Niro. Yeah. Oh my god. It was a travesty. I can't believe the guy even made it. But
I know.
um and then after I read it in the moment, I wrote like 1.5 pages worth of notes.
Say,
So
how'd you screw this up?
well, yes. And I made a note that said, I don't know where she got the body, where Dr. Frankenstein got the body parts from. That never was described for me,
So
at
I've
least.
read, no, actually, it wasn't this one. I've read this one. Whoop. Oh,
Yeah, I
there we
saw that
go.
version. Yeah.
That one, and then another version. And one of them at least talked about he was on a he got him from a local graveyard. Yeah.
Maybe I see. This is maybe I missed it. I very well could have because I mean I read this thing in a day and a half, which
Oh
is
shit, you're so
yeah,
fast.
yeah. It
Damn.
was. I got sucked in, dude. I
It
got
does. It
sucked in
does. Yeah, that's good.
because her writing's really good, and
That's what people don't get, man. Is
I
this is art. It is
yeah
so good,
yeah, which doesn't make it horror for me.
right?
I but then again, what how do you what do you define how do you define horror? What
Live. Cool. All right. So where were I forget what we were talking about? Oh, we were talking about you said what is horror,
yeah.
and we were talking about Dracula, and
Oh yeah.
you said and that'll be, just so you know, that's our next book. So because I've never
Oh
read it.
Dracula? Yeah, I've
Yeah,
never read
that's
it.
our, we have to do it. We have to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that'd be
Um,
great.
so I forget what the question was with Dracula though. Is well, is it horror, right? And
Is
so
yeah. I mean,
is it
couldn't it
horror?
be
And I agree. Well, here, let me. This is my main question:
sure.
Is would you, nobody have you seen the movie Joker movie?
I have.
Is that horror?
Um no.
So then, how
For
can
me,
Frankenstein be?
horror is I guess I would define it as maybe a Wes Craven movie or a uh like Night of the Living Dead or something like that. Dawn of the Dead, whatever that
But you
was.
said Frankenstein was horror
Did
earlier.
I? I don't
Yeah.
think I did. I don't think that I think that it
Yeah.
is. I
You,
think it.
but
I mean,
but at the
but
beginning
it doesn't matter, right? I mean, because what's the label? I think.
here, but it does matter. This is why it matters. This is why it matters because the American culture public
Hmm,
and
it's been
in the
sold a lie.
it's a sold a lie, and they'll even put on most of these mass media sold books the first horror classic, and so that's what I'm just trying to get to the bottom of that because I
Yeah.
think that sold me. And not to get, I love horror. I'm a
Same here.
big horror. I love it. But 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 when I look at horror and I look at a book, I'm thinking something different. I'm just not giving it the credit. And I think when Mary Shelley did not write a horror book, just like Joker's not a horror movie, I really look at this book as a Joker, movie. I look at the very same themes as the movie Joker.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't go there, but yeah, I can see
Can
that.
you go there now?
Of course. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see
I
that.
mean,
I can understand
so
that.
let's go through what would you want to tell and before let's just we'll break down the book in a little bit, but
Yeah.
what would you want to tell the people first that never read the book? What is your message to them to say, hey, this book isn't what you think it is? What is the book that people don't think it is? What makes it different?
It's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. The movie is not Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's not.
Or
It's
any
done,
version that you
or
see.
any version. The young Frankenstein is a satirical version of the version that Hollywood has sold you, and that
Or
was done
what
in
is it? The
1970 something.
Munsters.
Yeah, or the family of Frankenstein's. I mean,
Right.
no, there was again in the version that I have. There's not even a bride of Frankenstein. There was
He
never a
wishes.
bride of Frankenstein,
He wishes. That's the whole freaking book.
but he never did it.
But that's the whole book.
Right, and um, and I get that. It
Mm-hmm.
for me, this book is all about uh, trying to understand people who aren't you, who don't look
Mm-hmm.
like you.
Yep.
Uh, Love and
Empathy.
vengeance can
Yep.
do some terrible things to somebody. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it can really mess up the makeup in your brain, no matter how sane you may think you are. It
Mm-hmm.
might be it might be a good idea to just take a break, take a beat, take a breath. If you're
Yeah. Good.
so
Yeah.
invested into love or vengeance,
That's so
just take a
true. I love
breath.
that one.
Yeah,
That's a
take a step
big
back.
part of the book, but it's funny that you say that because it doesn't get a lot of attention. These people are, and this is the first theme. Let's cover this theme because
Yeah,
it's a good one that doesn't get talked about a lot. The first theme of the book is these guys get ruled by, I don't want to say ego, but determination of a goal, right? Scientific goals usually. So we have Dr. Frankenstein who loses his shit because for months upon end, he is trying to create a monster. He is trying to create life out of death. He is trying to put together, collect dead things, and make life. And he loses his shit. I mean, he admits he doesn't eat, he doesn't sleep, his mind is gone. And then you have the sailor, and forgive me, what's his
Robert
name?
Walton,
You're damn good. That's why I do this.
Captain Walton.
Robert Walton. Good job. Robert Walton, who is telling this story, he's a sailor, and his whole goal is to sail to the North Pole. He's writing
Right.
his sister, and he's just saying, hey, this is science. And they're both working for science, and they both lose sense of reality, I guess you could say, sense of what's around them, sense of what they're trying, all the things that they're losing in trying to reach their goal. And I think Moose that you said that is phenomenal because that's a major part of this book. And she
It's the
mentions it
whole
nonstop.
book.
It is the whole book.
It's
Right.
everything that the book is about.
Right.
It's not about a monster.
Right.
That to me is what pisses me all up. So when you mentioned it after we did our first one and you asked me, let's do Frankenstein, I said, hell yeah, because I've never read it.
Right.
And so I didn't know what I was going to expect after reading this. And when I was done and I finished the last page, I had this seething hatred for Hollywood.
Dude, not only Hollywood, I hated. Yeah, I was mad at our pop culture
Yeah,
altogether. You
Franken
take this
weenie. I
thing,
can't.
and how do you change it? How do
How
you
do you
change this whole
you
book?
and in the most awful of ways? Like you didn't.
Right,
You even Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which I watched yesterday, the movie with probably one of
the
the
best
greatest American
actors.
actors, Robert De Niro. He signed up for this piece of shit Pardon my French for any kids watching
No, you're
or that
good.
are. It was a piece of shit. It's done out of sequence. It's
Uh-huh.
all you'd have no idea that this was her book. She should be
That's a shame.
picked. That's why
Well, it's a
Stephen King
shame.
signs on to be executive producer for anything that's done out of his books, so they don't like bastardize it. That was the
But I
word I
can't
kept
think
using
of
in
it.
my notes.
Yeah, that's a perfect word. What? I can't think of another example, and there's probably something out there, but I can't think of one that is so big in popular culture as Frankenstein that everybody knows.
It's probably
And yet,
Dracula.
yeah, well, but we don't know yet.
Right, we
We don't
don't
know
know
if the
yet.
true story is yet, but
Right.
but where they're so wrong about the reality of the story. And that's the thing
Well,
too. The fact that I didn't even want to really read it the first time I read it, it was one of those things where like I should read Frankenstein. And I read it, and like you, I closed that book and I'm like mad. Like this is the one of the best books I ever read. And
yeah.
people have done it so wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
it is so good on so many levels. The writing, the depth of feeling, the commentary on society and what people go through and what people feel and how ignorant we can be and how unempathetic, and we give it this little story of like "Ah,
Yeah.
ah."
Yeah. It's alive. That's
That's
never even
right.
said in the book.
No, it's
It's
never
never
said.
even
Oh,
said.
never. It's
It's
alive. Yeah,
in this
everybody will
book.
say that.
In this book that I read, everybody, it's alive was never
It's
once
not said in any
mentioned.
of them. Never.
Never
No.
said.
None.
Never
Mm-mm.
said. Never quoted. Never. No. And
Okay.
I was so. Yeah. It's still. Yeah. Lingers. Because it's like. This is. And I don't. Man. When you talk about feminism and you talk about women, I wonder when did it get hacked to death? When did it no longer become the
Oh, I bet you're
story
right.
of
I never thought of that.
what she wrote to what pop culture made it to be?
You
You know,
know, I never thought of that, Moose. That's a great point. Is it because she's a woman that men
I'm
didn't like the message?
100%.
I
That's
agree.
what I'm going to go with at
That's a
least.
great point. No, I agree with that. I think you're right. I think you're exactly right. Is that they took it to be their own and they freaking ruined it.
They didn't. Yeah, they didn't
Uh,
want to get into the depth of emotion. Men don't
right?
do that. Men don't. Men don't. We aren't that.
Not real men.
Yeah,
Right.
men don't
Right.
cry. Men aren't
Right.
depressed. Men don't. All we do is drink beer and fuck.
Exactly.
Not
Urgh.
all of us.
We growl. Right.
Yeah.
So, um, let's
Sorry, I'm getting all fired up.
no
I'm telling you,
Moose,
dude, this
dude.
pissed me off. Pissed
That
me
would piss
off.
me off too. And
Made
and
me
I'm with
so
you.
mad.
I try to tell people this is a phenomenal book. Please try
It
it,
is really, really great.
but people screwed it up. So let's just get into the story a little bit because usually I
Okay.
don't like to get into the plot because it's just people. This podcast is really just for me and you to work it out for people that have already read it. But I want people that haven't read it just to know that hey, here's the main gist is he creates this monster. I hate to say that. I shouldn't even.
It's
I
okay.
feel bad for saying that. Isn't that
Right.
weird? You read the book, you're like, oh, he creates a life, and the second he creates the life, because of how I mean, he put it together. It's a dead body. It's grotesque. It's alive now. He's scared. He runs away.
He's abhorred by it. Was one of my
He's
notes.
abhorred. He's
Abhorred.
abhorred. He runs away
Yeah.
for days, really.
Yeah. He
And this
disappears.
monster, oh God, I keep saying this
It's okay.
life. I'm going to
Just
call him the life. The life.
right.
This life wakes up. Imagine no knowing of anything and doesn't know how to talk, doesn't know anything. He walks out in the town. People look at him. He's grotesque. They want to kill him because he's grotesque. And essentially, fast forward, he lives behind a family's cabin
In the
and he
woods.
watches them through a little hole, like a hovel. Again, it's a story, so you could pick it apart, but don't. He watches through a hole. He learns.
Read the book.
about he reads about book. He learns language, he learns
Right.
family, he learns culture, he learns love by watching this family. And honestly, he is the example of the blank slate. And what he learns from this great family is love and understanding, and he wants to just be a part of a family. And that's why I think people don't understand where this book is coming from, right?
Yeah.
Take it.
Yeah.
What do you want to say?
Exactly. No, exactly that. And uh, just how misunderstood he could be. Like we really that never gets delved into in any of the movies. Um,
No. And that he's so innocent. The point
how
of
sensitive
being
this guy is, this monster, this life, whatever. He's super sensitive.
he wants
Like
one thing. He wants a partner. He wants to
he
be
just wants to
loved.
be accepted, and
He
and
wants
in the end, just wants to be accepted.
if he could be part of that family. So, anyways, so people
Yeah,
that haven't read the book, there's an old man that's in there that's blind, and he knows if he goes in there and says, "Hey, everybody, I'm here. I love you," they're going to try to kill him and run away. So there's a blind old man in there, so he knows that maybe he can create a relationship with this old man. So the family leaves. He goes in, tries to create a relationship with the man. All he wants is to be accepted. Don't look at me for my outer skin. I mean, we could get into so much shit with this, right? Don't judge a book by the cover. Don't look at the outside. All this type of stuff.
right.
And the family comes back, and obviously they want to kill him. They find him in there, and he runs away. Um, and so he learns from this family, not only just learning and reading, but he also learns that we should it's human nature. He does have human nature. He wants to be with people. And he goes to the doctor that made him. He finally runs into him and he says, all you got to do is make me one person I can be with, a wife. But what happens, Moose? Is he going to
He
do that?
just he doesn't want to. He wants to,
Why? But why?
but he doesn't because of what happened. Because you're looking at the reason why he doesn't want to do it again, and then yeah, and we're glossing over like
Go ahead. Go
the
whatever you
loss
want to
of
go over.
the loss of Willie, or
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the name of the kid.
Yeah.
Uh,
His younger
then
brother, right? Is that his younger
yeah,
brother? Yeah.
yeah, that was huge. And then Mary Shelley, I think she might have lost a kid. I'm not entirely sure
She
about that.
did. No, she did.
Um,
Yeah.
so she kind of, adds that in, you know. Um,
But did
I
he
re-
kill Willie for no reason? Not that killing is good, no matter what. But did he just is it just his monster instincts that culture wants you to believe he is a monster? No, right?
no,
He killed
right.
Willie for a reason. Am I wrong?
Well, yeah. What would that reason have been, though?
I'm trying to
I
think.
mean,
I'm trying to go back now to the book.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I can't really remember. But I whatever the reason is, the kid winds up dead, right? So maybe it
right.
was I could have just been an accident, which
God damn, I've read the book twice. This is my freaking brain.
you've read it twice. I've read it once, and I
Yes.
saw a horseshit movie that's messing with my brain
But okay,
because
so let
I
me get this wrong. After he killed Willie, you weren't like this is a demon though. So there has to be a reason for it.
no, which makes me think that it was probably not supposed to happen. That it was just
Right.
sort of an accident, and then
Yes.
how is he
Yeah.
supposed to tell? Look at me, at the monster. How am I supposed to tell this town that it was an accident?
Yes.
That'd be
So
like Emmett
people that are
Till
watching,
saying it was an accident that I whistled at this white girl.
right.
Not gonna
So
happen.
just
Not
so
gonna
you know,
fly.
people, he did not do it because there was no reason to hate the life that I'm going to call him, the monster. Uh, even when the first kid died, there was a reason behind it, and I don't know if he did it. I can't remember. I remember him. He strangled him. This sounds so bad. You got to read the book, people. I think he strangled him,
Again, I
but
saw a
people were
horseshit
against
movie that's really messing my brain up. But I do remember she spent a few pages, um,
right.
sort of describe the kid was lost, Like, it just in the movie, they make it seem like he was gone, for a couple hours. In the book, she made it seem like it was a little longer than that.
Could
So,
be.
I mean, but still, though, I mean, choking a kid, I mean, if that's,
But
I mean, I don't know if that's
what is
really
your
an accident. That seems
right?
more
But your
purposeful.
final thought. But here's
Uh,
what, and we don't know what happens, and we got to get. But and I'll put it on here. I'll edit it. But the final thought is you're still not against this guy yet, and that
mm-mm.
takes a lot. You're not saying this guy's evil, so he did it. You still sympathize with him, right?
Somehow you still
Somehow.
manage to, you're
So
like,
that's my
from
point.
that, you're
Some
still like,
point you
okay,
still understand him. You still understand his point of view. And so what Dr. Frankenstein, the guy that creates him, says, screw you, monster. You are the worst thing I ever created. You are so hideous, just like the rest of society feels. I cannot imagine making anyone like you. And the monster says, you're forcing me into this, but I need to feel loved. And if I don't feel loved, then I'm taking your love away. That means I'm going to kill everybody you care about. So now the monster that everybody talks about is created. And it's like the movie Joker, right? It's like you kick somebody when they're down enough, our society, by not allowing them to be a part of it or not letting them feel loved or not accepting them, you are creating a monster. And Mary
oh
Shelley's writing about it in 1816, and we're seeing it still today,
yeah,
right?
that's a common theme throughout just the history of us as a human species. We're
Right.
idiots. We're
Yeah.
morons.
But
We're ruthless to each other.
we're ruthless. And Joker was such a movie where people are like, oh my God, this is crazy. It's like, holy shit. Mary Shelley wrote about it, the same story, pretty much 200 years ago. We've
Yeah,
learned nothing. It's still a surprise to us.
yeah. No, not surprised. It's not surprised. And we do it in real life too, not just in movies and books. I mean, there's a reason why she wrote the book. There's a reason why
Yeah.
the story was in her head, that it finally just came out. Something happened. We don't know
Well,
what that is. I
but the
mean,
genius is Moose. You forgive me if I'm wrong, but do you empathize with Frankenstein the monster? I do.
yeah, you find yourself, I don't know, like,
I do.
with a completely open mind, I went into the book, and I only had the ravings of Hollywood
Right.
really to go off of, and I knew that was
Yeah,
all
I thought he was going to be
horseshit
a dick.
anyway.
Right.
So I found myself rooting for
Of course.
the the monster, the life, the whatever.
Right.
Um,
But but
I
but you don't
and I
expect
felt
that going
bad.
in. Right. You feel bad for him. Just
I
give
felt
him a
bad for all of
wife.
them, actually.
Right. Oh, I felt bad. I mean, his family. I mean, how many people can say, my dad was this kind of soul and this kind of soul, and my sister, I'm going to marry her. He just lucked
Yeah,
out that his sister wasn't blood, and he's going to marry her. She was the
right.
kindest soul. They're all the kindest people on earth, and then you have this monster, Frankenstein's monster, that um, you feel for more than anybody. And
He's
you
the
don't.
outcast.
He's the outcast, and yet, I mean, my gosh, just for a 19-year-old to realize we don't have many books or movies like this, and the Joker's one of the few that she could nail this down so long ago, where you empathize with the outsider. You see what the outsider truly wants is just to be accepted, and you see that they commit horrors
Well, isn't
because they're put
Mary
in that
Shelley in 1816 as a woman? Isn't she an outcast?
outsider. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
She probably wanted to commit horrors. Who
yeah,
knows? I don't know.
absolutely. I'm married
Right.
to some 30-year-old. F that.
Right.
I'm gonna jab a javelin through his face. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, did you? I
Right.
don't know if she got forced into it. I hope she
I
didn't.
don't know. I
Um,
don't think she did.
I
I
don't
think
think
I
she
think
did
that was a
either.
romance. I don't think her
Yeah,
parents liked it. But
yeah,
but yeah, no, but your point is most women at that point were forced into that situation, and
yeah.
she knew that. And to empathize with, yeah, the outsider,
She's
Man,
19.
we don't see
Like,
that. But we don't
yeah,
see that in books. We don't see that in popular culture at all. And I think that's why this book affected me so much. Is
I push back on that. I would say we see that a lot. We just don't see it enough, probably.
do you though? Where? Where besides the Joker?
Well, well, I
I'm
mean,
sure I'm wrong, but I don't know. I can't think of
I
anything.
can't think of anything off the top of my head. I just kind of said it because it seems right. I mean,
It
like
it does, but it doesn't. I mean, you think of the
Catcher in the
underdog.
Rye.
Underdog is different
Catcher in the
than
Rye.
the outsider. But
Holden Caulfield, he's the outcast, right? He's the
he
outsider.
does true. But I hated him in that book.
I kind of liked him.
Did you really?
Yeah, we'd have to do Catcher in the Rye
Dude.
because now
Yeah,
we're
we
gonna get
will.
sidetracked.
You know
Um,
what? Yeah, you will because I've read him at different points in my life. I read him in my mid 20s and then I read him again like 2 years ago and definitely different viewpoint.
yeah,
Definitely one he was like my hero at one point. Like, yeah, this guy says it how it is and then the next time I'm like he's a spoiled little bitch.
no, I definitely remember that from the first time I read it. I remember because that was one of the things I got forced to read in high school, and I didn't
Right.
feel really bad that I got forced to read it. I would have rather been. I would rather have liked to have been forced to read this. To be perfectly
Yeah.
honest, I'd rather have read Frankenstein because he's the original outcast. If we're,
And
I mean, Jesus
and
kind of
how
was
much
if you
would you
believe in
learn
that.
from this? But the thing is, the reading level is a little bit difficult. But you, kids in culture, would learn so much more from this than a lot of the books they read. Hey, don't judge somebody by how they look. Right?
Sure.
Everybody's just looking for acceptance. Everybody just wants somebody to love them.
Well, that's why
That's
Green Eggs
it.
and Ham is so great. Because
Is
by
it?
the end
I
of
don't.
Green Eggs and Ham, he likes Green Eggs and Ham. He just never tried it before.
Is that what it is? I see. I'm so
Yes.
bad. I don't know that
So
one.
I mean, there's
He just judged.
examples, but like Frankenstein, it's just she is so Mary Shelley. Man, so good. It's so good. It's so good. Wasn't expecting how deep she was gonna get into this about just being in love.
Yep. Just
All the
wanting
love that's in the book was
somebody to
surprising.
understand you. Somebody not to judge me for the way I look, just somebody to understand where I'm coming from, to be made like I was made, and I can live with one other person if the society is against me, but I just need one, and the doctor's like, "Nope, I can't do it."
Yeah, and
And
everyone dies.
everyone, and that's the other thing. He's like,
I
we
kind
could
of
get
like
into
that.
you kind of get yeah, that's where the horror I guess comes in, right? Is that
Oh,
you know
or that's more of a could be like a theme, not a
Mhm.
theme. I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but like, um, I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking for with
No,
that, but
I
just
think
like
theme is right.
everyone that was important was all gone by the end,
No, I think
and
you're
I was
exactly
like,
right. He
okay,
has sacrificed a lot. No, you're sacrifice. He he is losing what Frankenstein the monster doesn't have because he won't give it to him. And Frankenstein, that's his goal. His goal is like, I'm going to make you feel like I feel. You're going to empathize with me whether you want to or not. You're going to see what I feel. You don't know what I feel like with having no one that loves me. You have all these people that love you around you.
right.
So I'm going to take them out one by one, and then maybe you will understand what I'm going through.
And
You
this is
know,
all the mind of Mary Shelley. She is
that,
writing all of these parts, which
and
is
that's why
just so
first,
incredible. It's so great. It's so
she's
great.
19.
I guess for her being a woman, she's probably constantly around men because they're all in the positions of power. There's a reason why she's at Lord Byron's house, for Christ's sake. So, like,
Right,
I mean, she's
and
probably
not and
heard these conversations, right? And then you,
probably
as a
left out a
19-year-old,
left out.
yeah, yeah,
Yep,
the outcast. Nobody's really gonna
and
listen to
it
you.
can't be as successful as them.
No, you
But
kidding?
she was, but she was. But we got
Right.
to understand that when she wrote the book, she didn't
Right.
know what was going to happen. So she's probably looking exactly as you said at society as I can never be there. And even when she did get it, we could argue, as we both have this whole conversation, that it was mansplained, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah,
Her
that's
book was
exactly. You got.
mansplained for the last
If
100
she had
years.
a hashtag, it would be hashtag Me Too since like 1820.
Right, mansplained since I wrote the goddamn book. Nobody would
Exactly.
let it be what it was, right?
Yes. 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 It's fine if Gene Wilder wants to do Young Frankenstein, but I mean, again, he's making a satirical version of a
That's
bastardized
fine.
virgin.
I'm fine with that. But don't
Yeah,
do the real
that's
one the
fine.
wrong way. Yeah, I'm
But
with you
to
100%.
then make a movie called Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and
And
it's
screw it.
totally out of sequence to what she wrote. And by sequence, I mean she has like it's the very first part for a bunch of pages, isn't it? Captain Walton reading the letters
Sure.
back and
Yeah.
forth between him and his wife
Yep.
for like pages and pages, and then
Yep.
he meets Victor, and
Yep.
then it's Victor's turn to tell his story,
Tell his
and then
story of Frankenstein.
Frankenstein tells his story, or the
Right.
monster, the life, tells
Right.
his story. It's just so, man, it's so great, and
See,
then it all circles back.
yeah, and why can't they do, and I get movies don't do books justice. They don't. But they
Some of
don't
them don't.
screw it up
True.
this bad. Where you should be able to at least walk away if you're not telling the story the exact same way. You should still at least walk away with the same message. And that's what bothers, I think, everybody that reads Frankenstein. It
Exactly.
bothers us in that you don't walk away with the same message that she intended. And it's one thing if you told it a little bit different, but give me the same message. And that's
Right.
not happening.
Right.
That's a
It's the
shame.
it's the reason why people listen to uh I'm going to use a hip hop reference. I'm going to get this really bad though. It's the
Okay.
reason why people listen to Juice World and other people listen to A Tribe Called Quest. You're
Well,
looking
you
for
got
something deeper, and then
all right.
other people don't want the deepness. They just want to have a good
Have
time,
fun. Right. Party.
and
Yep.
that's
No, I agree.
fine. That's fine. But there's a whole story that's being
You could,
left out
yes. Do not,
that you're not
yeah, you
even
could go
getting.
deeper.
Yeah, yeah,
Dude, how many, but before I asked you to read Frankenstein, you have to admit you had an, a stereotype of what you were getting into.
exactly. They
And that's
did
what the,
what the book did to us.
mhm. And me, yeah, big time. And I have the same thing about Dracula, but we're going to do, we got two books Dracula,
Catcher in the Rye.
Catcher in the Rye. Now we don't have a time frame on it, but but let's just say we both read Catcher in the Rye, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're good with that. We'll
Yeah, I
get to
have
that.
it back there somewhere.
But Dracula will probably be summer of 2021. Does that sound
Yeah,
good?
that'd be great. That'd be great.
Moose,
And
I
yeah,
thank you so much, buddy. I
thank you,
I,
man.
I
This is
love it.
always
You
awesome.
are, dude. I love talking to you. I mean, you make me understand things better, and just it's just fun. I can't explain it.
Yeah, I.
Thank you.
This is like the Yeah, doing this is great because it's the conversation I always want to have after reading a
After a
book.
book,
I just
right?
read "Let It If It Bleeds," or I listened to it on the audio book.
What? Who wrote that? What's that?
That's Stephen King. That came out in April of this year.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's four
I'll have to check
novellas that are kind of put together.
it out.
And
Nice.
if you've read or watched um, The Outsider on
I watched it.
HBO,
Yep,
and then
I
he has
watched
the
it.
book. There's a in this If It Bleeds is like the second part to that.
Oh no way! That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
I might have to
yeah. I
check that.
wasn't expecting that at all, and it was really great. So
That's awesome.
I wanted something for Halloween because I had already finished Frankenstein. Like I said,
Dude, I'm
that
with
took me
you.
2 days.
I have to read something spooky in October. That's who I am.
Yeah,
But
I've been having some. I usually like to write something, so
see, I wish I had that. Yeah.
yeah, and I have the original story of Price Hill Chili that I wrote probably 3 years ago, 4 years, maybe
I've
5.
never seen that.
Yeah, it's
Is it? Well, where's it
hilarious.
at? Where's
It's
it
not
at?
true. I'll send it to you. Yeah,
It's
it's not.
not true. You made it
No,
up.
I made it
For
up.
people
Yeah,
that are watching, Price Hill Chili is a
chili
landmark
parlor on the west
west
side.
side of Cincinnati. My parents ate there every Friday night for many, many years, and I would join them quite often. But yeah, it's a staple. That's free.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I would have never expected that, Moose. That's awesome. I want to read it.
so I was living on the west side for a while, and everybody
Okay.
goes to Price Hill Chili. I mean,
Of
we'd go
course.
after we'd go there after like Southgate House shows, Crow's Nest. We'd go up there, or sometimes on Sundays for brunch. So I made up this story about how
That's
the chili's
great.
made. Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, and you can
Send.
kind of.
Did you ever put it out publicly or not?
I mean, I don't know what that means, but I've
But I mean, if you
posted it
ever
on
put it in a
Facebook.
public, but on Facebook, but not like a publication or.
No, I mean, I've never done that. I
God,
don't even know
all right,
how
well,
to do that.
we got to get it out there somehow. That's
It's
awesome.
all
Oh, yeah,
moosesbeard.blogspot.com.
yeah,
That's
yep.
the spot because
Okay,
it's
cool.
there. It's
All
there,
right, I'll take it.
and there's a whole bunch of stuff there. But yeah, so I got to work on a Halloween story. Got to get that done
Yeah,
pretty soon.
awesome. Thank you, Moose, for everything, dude. I love you. I love your friendship.
Yeah,
Even though
same
we
here,
only
man. Love you too.
names, but hey, this is how it works, I guess. Thank
Yeah,
you, and we just so you know, read Dracula because I'm
yeah,
coming for it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's gonna be good. That'll be interesting because I'm not a vampire guy. I don't really like
Me neither.
vampires.
I'm not into any of that crap either. But hey, we might come out as just as surprised, right? And that's what we got to
That's
find
the
out.
hope. Yeah,
Yep.
I
All
hope
right.
so.
Good night, brother.
All right,
Thank you
man.
so
Have a good
much.
night.
You too. Bye.
Talk.